Now, a lot of people freak out and think that math is too hard or that adding negative numbers is hard, but you just need to stay calm. You don't need special superpowers to do math or add negative numbers. You just need to think about what the numbers mean and you'll eventually figure it out. Now, let's start with, what are integers? An integer is all the whole numbers that you know, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, and the opposite of the positive numbers. So 1, the opposite of that is -1, the opposite of 2 is -2, and the opposite of 3 is -3. So integers are all those negative numbers, 0, and the positive numbers. Absolute value is a useful thing for us when we're working with integers. Absolute value is the distance of a number from 0. When we work with absolute value of a number, we use 2 bars to indicate it. So the absolute value of 0, well, the distance from 0 to 0 is 0. The absolute value of 7, well, 7 is 7 units away from 0, so that's going to be 7. And the absolute value of -9, well, how many units is -9 away from 0? Well, that would be 9 units. You notice that all of these numbers came out positive because distance is positive. Adding integers with the same sign is easy. Obviously, you know how to do this one. In this case, we have 4 plus 7. That's a positive 4 and a positive 7. All you have to do is add like normal. So we have 11, a positive 11. You can write 11 or you can write positive 11. They're the same thing. Here we have 2 negatives being added. We got a -3 and a -1. And we're adding, so we're putting all of these together. So I've got 1, 2, 3 negatives here and 1 negative here. And we're putting it all together, and that's going to give me -4. So when you're adding 2 negatives together, you should have a negative answer. Slightly more complicated situation is when we're adding integers with different signs. Here we have a -4 plus a positive 7. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives and 7 positives. And a positive and a negative cancel out and make 0. So this becomes 0, this becomes 0, this becomes 0, this becomes 0, and all that's left is 3 positives. So -4 plus 7 is +3. A shortcut way of doing this is when they have 2 different signs, a negative and a positive, all you have to do is subtract. So 7 minus 4 is 3, and whichever one's more powerful will be the sign. Well, there's more positives, so the answer is positive. All right, we got another one with different signs. We got +5 plus -2. This time I'm going to use a number line. And I start at +5 because that's the first number. And I'm adding -2. Well, I'm not really adding something so it gets bigger. I'm adding -2. I need to go down from the 5. So we go down 1, 2. And that has us finish at +3. Remember, the shortcut way to do it was to say 5 minus 2 because they have different signs and there are more positives, so the answer is positive. When I do these problems, I don't really memorize any rules. I think about what the numbers mean. And in this case, we got 14 plus negative 5. So I got 14 positives and 5 negatives. It means that I start at 14 and I have to go down 5, which is 9. Another way to do it would be to say, let's break up this 14 into a 9 plus 5, because that's 14, plus the negative 5. And you can see that a positive 5 and a negative 5, they would cancel out and make 0, leaving the answer of 9. Here we have a more complicated problem, and we got 13 plus negative 21 plus 16. Now, order of operations would say to start on the left, but when you're adding, you're allowed to add in any order. So if you wanted to, you could do the 13 plus the 16 to make 29, plus negative 21. And like before, to make it easier, you might want to write 29 as 21 plus 8 plus negative 21. And we see that the 21 and the negative 21 cancel out, leaving an answer of 8.